Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. Welcome in to another founder story. We've got the incredible Dr. Jordan Sand here today to talk to us about his journey. And I'm really looking forward to this one because this is going to be a journey of science and business. I love it when these two areas collide. Jordan, welcome in. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me, Steve. It's great to be here.
So let's dive in. I want to just tell me the story, right? Let's go back to the beginning. Your studies, education, MIT, all of this cool stuff. Over to you.
Yeah, so I'm originally from North Dakota. I grew up on a family farm. We mostly raised wheat and soybeans when I was there. When I was in high school, we were required to make science projects, and one of the ones I made, I took cereal grain straws and things like cattails or water reeds, and I made them into paper. That particular project went all the way through the state competition into actually an international science and engineering fair. While it was there, it was recognized by MIT, and they awarded me the MIT Lemelson Invention Apprenticeship Award when I was 18 years old.
Nice.
And so at the time, they had us travel. We got to pick from like 6 different places to go to. I ended up choosing to go to the Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratories in Berkeley, California, and I spent 3 weeks there as an 18-year-old, which was pretty crazy for a kid who grew up in rural North Dakota to walk down Telegraph Avenue and watch people openly smoking weed. That was a bit of a culture shock for me, but just the facilities and what was available to me was pretty amazing. At that point, MIT recognized me and said, "Hey, you should apply to come here." And I said, "Oh, sure, I guess." And then they said no, if you can believe that. So I ended up doing my undergraduate degree at North Dakota State University in Fargo, North Dakota. I got degrees in microbiology and biotechnology. I was having so much fun at school, I didn't really want to quit. So I started applying to graduate schools. And I ended up getting accepted at UW-Madison here in Wisconsin. The only criteria I had is that they would pay me to go, because I would rather not spend any more money. Thank you. We already had to pay for my undergraduate education. When I was there, I got a PhD in molecular and environmental toxicology, mostly working on skin cancer. From there, I decided I was still really into school, and did a postdoc on campus with a man named Mark Cook, because he was very entrepreneurial. And so when you grow up on a small family farm, you're basically a small company, and I wanted to start companies. That's what I wanted to do. And so I went and worked with Mark Cook, who is the number 3 as far as royalty earners at the University of Wisconsin. And when I was with him for 4 years as a postdoc and a scientist, we filed 12 patents and started 2 companies. The first company we started was called Abbey Discovery, or Antibody Egg Discovery. That was a company based around technology where we can get rid of antibiotics in animal feeds. How that works, well, the initial study we did is stepping back. My specialty really evolves around immunity and the immune system. And so we were looking at ways to create inflammation and slow down growth in chickens. Mark Cook worked in the animal sciences department. He loved working on chickens. And so what we wanted to do is model some of the conditions that you get in these grow out houses in a university setting, because you can't do it. If you got 5 chickens in a little cage versus 30,000 in a big building, it's really not the same. So we looked at an anti-inflammatory part of the immune system, and we decided to silence it. And we made antibodies to it. We fed it to the animals. Nothing happened. So we decided that maybe we have to introduce a disease. And so we went and we found a very common disease we had a vaccine for. We gave them 10 times the recommended dose. We looked at the animals, and the control animals that never saw the disease, and the animals that were given the antibodies to the was called interleukin-10, the anti-inflammatory part of the immune system. When you compared them, the diseased ones versus the controls, they were the same. They actually performed the same. And so what we did is we ran back to the literature and found out that one of the first things that happens upon infection is that diseases that make you sick have figured out how to shut your immune system off. And they do it by forcing your body to pump out a part of the anti-inflammatory part of the immune system called interleukin-10. When you bind up that interleukin-10, the immune system stays active, kills it off. So we filed many different patents on that, on many different diseases. And we started that company called Abbey Discovery, and we tested it with millions of chickens. They were quite successful in their tests. We ended up partnering with a large pharmaceutical company for a while, and that ended up being a less than successful partnership. They tested our materials for over 5 years, said, yep, this is a winner. We think this is going to be great. We're going to sell 380,000 pounds of it next year. So in the interim, during the 5 years of testing, we built a factory. We got everything ready for scale up. We make 300,000 pounds of stuff. 3 months later, they come back to us and say, nope, never mind, and cancel the contract. Come to find out, they had 2 other products that were slightly cheaper to make, and they made slightly more money on. And so after all of the time, all of the testing, all of the effort, we end up getting dropped on. And the lesson that I learned from that one is that you really do need your own customers. Because if you're relying on a single source, if the winds change, if they suddenly decide that they don't want you, or if they're just deciding to kill you as a company, which is my sneaking suspicion for what they did, you have to be prepared for that. So after 8 years of working on that project, I decided I'd had enough. I was tired. I was tired of that project. I was disappointed in how it kind of went. It still exists. That company is still out there going. And I consulted for a while for a company for a couple of years before I started this company called Cold Water Technologies. The name Coldwater comes from a lake near my home in North Dakota. It has no special significance. But one of the other projects that I worked on while as a postdoc, was we needed to raise money for a new building on campus. It's now built. It's called the Meat Sciences and Animal Biologics Building. Half the money would come from the state, half had to come from private companies, essentially. And so we went through the waste streams from animal slaughter plants looking for high-value uses. And what you find is about 70% of the animals consumed, but the 30% that keeps it alive, like brain, kidneys, heart, intestines, are generally rendered down into low-value products. And so we looked into that stream and mined it for high-value products with high-value uses. And so we found one in the mucosal lining of the small intestine. We ended up extracting it and pasteurizing it, drying it down. And then again, as I said, I work in the animal sciences building, so we fed it to every animal under the sun, just to see if it would do anything. We fed it to chickens again, or to chickens. It actually made them quite a bit more efficient. They could eat less feed and grow faster. So it's great. The other thing we found is we had a mouse model for dermatitis. These mice, if you took them from one diet and shifted them to another, something like between 50 and 90% of them would break out with dermatitis, and they'd be, frankly, itching their skin off. When we added what now turns into Happy Scratch into that mixture, all of a sudden they didn't. 1 out of 10, 1 out of 15 would get itchy instead of half or more. So with that, we're like, okay, that's great, but why does it work? Well, come to find out, the most common primary immunodeficiency is something called selective IgA deficiency. What that means is animals and humans don't make enough of a part of their immune system called IgA. And that's, again, anti-inflammatory. If you don't have enough of this, people have chronic skin issues, have chronic gut issues, and all we're doing is we're taking the IgA from pigs, feeding it back to these animals, and suddenly we're fixing a bunch of problems. So then we pursued it, fed it to some dogs, saw the same things, went to the UW veterinary hospital. On animals where where drugs like Apoquel and Cytopoint didn't work, we helped 40% of those animals. And from that, we started the company Coldwater. We've now been in business for about 5 years, but really we didn't get any funding until February of 2022. And we've kind of been moving since then. We introduced our product to the market in April of 24. And very soon we're going to introduce our next product, which is Happy Scratch, but instead of in powder form, it will be in treat form.
Yes. Well, I want to talk about that because I feel like I'm a QVC host here with my own version that you could have yourself today. But I do want to talk about it because I fed it to my cat and he loves it. But I want to go backwards a little bit because there's
Sure.
so much stuff that you've said there that I'm super curious about. I guess.
I did monologue there a bit.
No, it was great. I love it. So, my first question is going back to Abbey Discovery, where the pharmaceutical company had those the other options on the table, and am I right in hearing that you had no knowledge that they were looking at these other companies at the same time that you were scaling up to fulfill this order?
Well, we knew that they probably had some other products, but we were surprised that they would invest this much time and effort and then just drop it. What would be the point, going, NAE, which is no antibiotics ever, or antibiotic free or whatever designation you want, was very important for a period of time there. And we might have just missed our window because you don't hear about that so much anymore. Subway was, no antibiotics ever. Every company was saying that. And now you don't hear about it. It just might have been as simple as that. Because the other products that they had were still considered drugs or antibiotics. So I don't know what accountant did what mathematical formula that we fell out of, but there you go.
Yeah. Oh man. Wow. Okay. But it sounds like from that experience, you're talking to me about, setting up Coldwater Technologies and how you're kind of going through that, the discovery process of actually what should we build. That to me it's such a, that's Winston has just walked into the room. He can smell what's going on.
Well, good.
He really can. Anyway, before I get sidetracked, what's super interesting is you're talking about building out Coldwater Technologies and the approach that you're taking is so entrepreneurial. It almost feels unusual to me to kind of hear that. I feel like when I'm usually talking to science folks, it's more like it's almost a different way of coming across the problem, and I love how you've done it because. Well, and I know you're fundraising now and starting to bring in money to build this business, and clearly it shows why. But what a smart and scientific way to actually go about starting a business. So I love that so much. My question with Happy Scratch is, you talk about this like immune deficiency in animals. Yep. Is there like a comparable solution for humans?
No.
Is it there's nothing, right? So
nope. Okay. I just went with animals because I didn't want to go try to raise $1 billion.
No, absolutely. So back. Let's get it back to our furry friends then. So sure. When it comes to like the immune issues that they face. Is this, I know that obviously it's not so much of a factor with cats, but certainly with dogs, the human race has really done a number on the species of dogs by breeding, crossbreeding, all of this different stuff. Is that part of the reason why?
Crossbreeding would be great. The problem I see is the brother-sister mating so they look right.
Yes, of course.
And when you continue to do that just so they look like a chocolate lab or they look like a golden retriever, you do that enough, you will start destroying their immune system. Like you will. Everybody knows inbreeding is hard on animals and humans. I mean, we can talk about the Habsburgs if you want. Like that's the most famous example. But yeah, it's you can't do generation after generation expect the animals to be all right. you're going to have to do some outcrosses, which means they won't quite look right. And will people pay the premium for them? You know, it's an economic decision more than anything. So.
Okay. Interesting. Right. Okay. So let's keep going then into cold water technologies.
Sure.
Like I said, I'm really interested in, you know, the lessons that you kind of picked up through Abbey Discovery that are now kind of being implied or applied to cold water technologies. So tell us a little bit about the business so far, how it's going with Happy Scratch. Give us that.
Yeah. So we have a small but very loyal base of customers. What we have found is that about 40% of people that try our product come back and at least buy one more, and many of them become subscribers. And that's on our website. And on Amazon, it's something like 27%. It's like a hugely high number of people that when we get them to try it, we get to keep them. So that's really great. Our problem, of course, it's never enough. It's never enough people. You know, our product isn't that expensive. We only sell it once a month. So what we've done is look toward, while direct to consumer is great, it takes forever for volumes to get up where they need to be. So we're actually looking to partner with ingredient companies and put our Happy Scratch into your pet food. We've tested with a number of different large companies, and they have come back and done palatability studies against other palatants that exist. For those of you who don't know what a palatant is, it's just something that makes food taste good. It's on every piece of kibble, you know, every cat food, everything has it. We've just tested it against that, demonstrated we're at least as good as what they're using or better at somewhere around half the rate. So you can use half or less of us to compete with what's out there. So we're trying to work through these companies and get into your pet food to get our volumes up, get our costs down, and then we can continue on our merry way here, direct to consumer.
So if you can use I'm going to say, let's say I'm Purina. And the palatant that you mentioned, I can use half of Happy Scratch to get the same effect, and I'm saving money at the same time by doing that.
Oh no, I'm going to try and gouge you.
Okay. Oh, true entrepreneur, we got it.
I'm going to try to get every darn nickel, Steve. Isn't that my job?
Of course. No, I love it. Yes, of course. But I guess where my head's going with this is this a no-brainer?
It should be. It really should be, because we would fall into a category called functional palatants. So not only do we taste good, we fix an underlying disorder. But where we would hope to do is start in things like skin diets, because there's so many out there that say, oh, good for skin health, skin and coat, blah, blah, blah. But if we could get into those diets, replace the palatant they're currently using, and give a functional aspect to it, it should be a no-brainer. This should be very easy for people to do. And we're working on it. I mean, what you don't understand about a lot of the industry stuff, this is something the pharmaceutical companies taught me, was that to simply change a label on a bag takes, in some cases, a year, 9 months, a year and a half, because of all the legal things that have to go in front of it, all the bags they've already printed, all the food they were already making. In order to make that simple change, even if someone said yes to me today, it could be a year before we'd have significant volumes. It's just how it works. So,
and how are you?
Oh, go ahead.
How are you preparing? How do you operate the company with that in mind? Because I know that's something that other founders, in this space, certainly in healthcare as well, you've got to keep the wheels on the bus. Whilst
I'm finding it hard today, Steve.
Yeah.
I'm finding it hard to do. I think with, I do hate to get political, but with what appears to be instability and craziness that's going on, most people are afraid to look long-term. They're afraid to put in that sort of investment that you would need. So we are struggling trying to raise the last bit we need to close the round out. We love it. Everyone's always like, well, if you had more revenue. And it's like, well, if I had more revenue, I wouldn't need your money. But it's tough out there.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
And it's tough to get people to understand that, yes, we will get there, and we will get to thousands and thousands of pounds of stuff. We need one of these people to say yes. It'll be, 50 or 100,000 pounds a year. You'll make all your money back plus, but you're going to have to wait because it doesn't go fast.
So I guess you just trying to keep it as lean as you can for as long as you can until you can and get that contract.
Well, again, that's why we're still working on the direct to consumer at the same time. We are showing revenue there. We are, as we continue these conversations with larger companies, introducing a new product, hey, look at our treats. Hey, look at our powder, and trying to drive sales that way as well. And just showing continued growth in that aspect is also beneficial. If you're relying, again, just on one large corporation, the winds might change, your champion might leave. Because in my experience, the people we started out working with at that pharmaceutical company, year 1 versus year 5, there was nobody left. They had all changed jobs. They had all left. All of the senior leadership on down. Everybody had just, he was here for 6 months. This guy was here for a year and a half. This guy went and got a job there. 3 years later, this guy goes to the FDA. This guy goes here, and it's just gone.
Yeah.
And so what you worry about with long-term projects like that is just what happened to us. The champions that we had, the people that believed and wanted to see it succeed, had already left. And you always worry about in these scenarios that the people that come in don't want the previous regime to succeed. Oh, that was from the old regime. That was their idea. I don't want to put my name on that because that won't be credited to me. And so it's hard, to have those sort of long-term relationships with corporations simply because of the turnover.
So let's say you stumbled into a time warp and you met Jordan from a number of years ago, going into this journey. What would you say to him in terms of how do I handle, hey, I'm going to be in this for 5 years. Am I going to lose my champions? We know the answer is yes, but what do you do?
Well, one of the greatest flaws we had with our initial contract with the pharmaceutical company is we had no minimums of how much they're going to purchase and how much they're going to sell. I thought it was a mistake at the time, and I still think it's a mistake. By year 3, you need to sell even as little as 10,000 pounds, just something to get it out into the marketplace, to show that there would be appetite so that you can start generating revenue and we can start saying, you get that feedback. Oh yeah, they like it. Oh no, they don't. What have you. Instead of going from 0 to 300,000, it would have been better if there was a slower ramp up. And so as the people cycled out, the ones who came in could see that revenue generation, could understand that the terms of the contract were such that they had to sell so much, and we could make progress that way. I think contract writing, especially when you get into these deals with these companies, becomes essential. And you have to truly try to put yourself in the other people's shoes and really understand that these aren't going to be the people you're talking to 3 years from now. And if you don't have something ironclad and signed off on that they have to do, they won't. And you could completely lose everything. So, while it's unfortunate that happened to me, and it hurts, as always, it is a pretty good lesson. Be very careful.
Yeah. I feel like it's a great lesson. It's so interesting to me because it also feels like it's a bigger. I think it's a global lesson, but it feels especially poignant in the US just because of how the US is structured, right? Like it's moving to America and hearing people talk about big chicken and big pharma and just how things work. And you get it, right? And you talked about this notion that there's a slight hit that maybe, we're trying to kill this off because it's going to affect our bottom line.
Well, I mean, when you think about it, for animal agriculture, there's 2 3 big companies. There's Zoetis, there's Elanco, and there's a third one I'm blanking on. I think Bayer's in there probably. When you talk about how many companies that actually sell chicken to you, I mean, 90% of the chicken sold in the country is by 10 companies, and when you get into the top 3, it's 70%. I mean, if you get in with one of the big guys, you're made, but it's almost impossible because they're going to be so incredibly conservative. Because a company like Tyson, for on the chicken end of thing, to continue the example, they sell 2.5 billion chickens a year. So if you're going to turn over your operation and you're responsible for 2.5 billion lives, you're going to take things awfully slowly. It might be 10 years of proving in the market before they'd even give you a look, because they want to be sure that when they implement you, you're going to work, because they can't afford to fail. So I sympathize with them, but as a startup in those areas, to be honest with you, we tested with some of these companies at Abbey for years, a year, 2 years. We demonstrated in their facilities with their animals that they would grow bigger, they'd make more money. And some of them just said, So one of them, the one that hurt the most, has said, yep, we think your stuff's great. And after you sell it to somebody else first, you can come back and we'd be happy to buy, because they won't be first. So, it is a market that I clearly don't know that you can, at least in animal agriculture, I'm just not 100% sure you can have a startup company in it. I don't see how you could, which is why going to companion animals where people actually spend money on pets seemed a lot better use of time for me.
Well, it feels like that's probably a better way in.
Yeah.
I find it so interesting because, the amount of times that you see companies trying to resist change or trying to, hold back, hey, I'm thinking about our bottom line. There's no need for us to innovate. We're dominating the market. I feel like there's always a lifespan to that. I feel like you cannot hold back the tide of innovation, and startups are going to start up and they're going to innovate and they're going to find ways to do this. But no, it's absolutely fascinating, and of course as well, in the politics of working with these companies, and like you say, you're dealing with reps that maybe they're there for a year, 2 years, move on to the next thing. They're not really invested in it. But the bottom line here, what you're doing is you've created a product that's actually making animals have better lives. We talk about the notion of Happy Scratch stopping cats and dogs with skin problems and scratching constantly to the point, with my cat, where there's so much scratching that maybe little patches of hair disappear and there's little bald patches appearing and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And we kind of look at it as normal. We've normalized it as being something that it's just the way that it is. But it doesn't need to be. And
Nope.
It's funny, in my past life, doing the emissions stuff, we were testing tires, trying to figure out, why are these tires degrading so quickly? Like, hey, tire manufacturers, could you make these last longer? Oh, absolutely. A very simple way of doing it. You can actually just bake the tire for a bit. Just this process of just heating up, cooling really quickly makes the tires last longer. Great. Are we not doing that as an industry? Like, no. Why would we do that? Then people would need less tires and we'd make less money. And you do get to that point of, oh man, that's depressing. That's come on, humans. We can do better.
The idea of designed, what is it called? It's designed to fail. I don't like designed obsolescence. That's the word I was looking for. That is very depressing. That is hard to deal with. From where I'm sitting, we'd love to have all of you guys be subscribers, of course, to our product. But we find that you have to use our stuff every day, which is great for us, of course. And we try to stay away from, that designed obsolescence. We're just really trying to help your animal. We're trying to help these other animals. The most interesting part about the Abby Discovery product was you didn't need to feed it the whole time either, because basically you needed the first however many days that they were exposed to the bacteria and viruses and protozoans in these barns, and then they wouldn't need anything else. They were already immune to them. That's sort of the way we tried to look at it, using natural products to fix real world issues so that animals and the humans that love them, especially in the case of Happy Scratch, feel a lot better about what they're doing. Instead of, if we did this one simple thing, we could extend the life out 50%. That's always
what on that note then, let's quickly plug Happy Scratch. So I will say I fed it to my cat, Winston. I'll put a picture of him on the screen. Here he is, little Winston. He is kind of he wants you all to know that, and he is kind of a big deal. So this he turned up on my door. I opened it up, took a sachet out, and opened it just to smell it, see what it was like. And Winston just appeared out of nowhere, like he does when something delicious appears. And I went. He'd had his dinner at this point, so I didn't have any food to kind of like mix it into. And I'm not going to feed him more because he's a little bit, needs a little bit of weight management, but he's doing okay. So I went downstairs.
Steve.
He's a lovely boy. He's about 15 pounds. He's not bad. He could do with losing a bit, but he's okay. So I went downstairs. I thought I'll just mix it with a churro, right? He loves his churros. I'll mix it with a churro. I had the open sachet. I put it into his open bowl that he'd already finished his food in. And before I could even get the churro, he just dunked his head straight into it. And it's just obviously it's powder. So he put his head straight into this powder. He sneezed, a little adorable sneeze, a little puff of powder went into the air. And I'm looking at him like it's like he's just gone and dunked his head into like a some grade A Colombian cocaine, and he's just having the time of his life. But no, absolutely loved it. And I said to you before we started filming, like I've tried to give him supplements before. He's a male 5-year-old cat, prone to have like urinary issues and stuff like that. So we've tried to give him supplements before, just will not do it. This cat, I can feed him one type of food for like 2 weeks, and then that's it. He's like, nah, I'm done with that. Give me something different. So at the minute, he's got like 7 different varieties of food upstairs that I have to cycle through because he gets bored of it. So yeah, bougie cat, but he's going crazy for Happy Scratch to a point where I wasn't even thinking of it as. It's so funny that you've got treats now, because I wasn't even thinking of it as a treat, and now I'm like, oh, this is churro level treat kind of area that he seems to go so crazy for it. So the other thing that I'm kind of curious about, that you mentioned about using this daily. But I wonder if I can take food that he has become bored with.
Absolutely.
Just give it a bit more life.
The problem you might run into, and this wouldn't be the first cat or even dog to do it, he might just lick the Happy Scratch off the kibble and not eat it. He wouldn't even be the first one. In fact, I've lost customers because of this, because they said they simply won't eat anything. They'll just lick it off and leave the food, and they'll like basically starve themselves because they won't eat the food. And so I'm like, oh, I never thought of it as being a bad thing, but it could be. I mean, give it a go. He wouldn't be the first cat that just is like, no, I just want the Happy Scratch. But a lot of people, what they do in that instance is they'll actually mix it in a little water and then put it on top of the kibble. And so he has to actually eat something if he wants it. But if you put it just in powder form, you might run into some issues.
That's so funny. Typical cat. I will die before I eat this type of food.
No, it could definitely do that for your cat. I really think it could. But yeah. So the other thing you're also telling me is I'm undercharging for stuff. If your cat really loves it that much, I really should be charging you much more, Steve.
So much more. I mean, genuinely, like getting in, and I'm sure it's going to happen with the experience that you've got and the determination that you've got here. But to have this, into, one of the food manufacturers. We've got a big Purina factory here in Denver. But to be able to get it in at that level, man, that's huge. That'd be so huge. I tested a product for Chevron years ago called Techron, and it's now in the pumps.
Yep.
Here. And I know that it's good. I know I've got the data. I know that this product helps clean up engines and blah 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 blah. So I feel like getting to that point with Happy Scratch would just be so cool. And maybe one day that logo, maybe it's on that Purina can, right? Like, hey, get your creamy delights with Happy Scratch. Like, oh,
it would be wonderful if they did a lot of my marketing for me. That would be simply spectacular.
Yeah. Well, I feel like we're primed to get some viral videos here of cats just going crazy for Happy Scratch. So let me see if I can film them.
Actually, you can go to our Amazon, and there is a cat on there that is eating it off the food there. So feel free.
Yes, I love it. Well, thank you so much for being here, Jordan. Check out the links in the description. You will see a link to Happy Scratch and also to connect with Jordan on LinkedIn as well. If you are a founder, please do connect. Love doing what we're doing here, interviewing founders. But with that, Jordan, thank you so much for being here today. Thanks a lot.
It was a pleasure, Steve. Thanks so much for having me.